Peak Wealth Management proudly presents Finding True Wealth with certified financial planner Nick Hopwood and accredited investment fiduciary Jim Pilat. Nick and Jim believe by making simple, good financial decisions, you can retire with confidence. And now, let's turn it over to your hosts, Nick and Jim.
Welcome everyone to episode 110 of the Retire with Confidence podcast. I'm Nick Hopwood.
And I'm Jim Pilat.
And today, I'm wearing a tie for the first time of the calendar year.
Yeah, I was impressed. I walked in and saw that this morning and I thought, man, you remembered how to do the knot and everything.
Yeah, it's like riding a bike, it turns out.
Yeah.
And I wore the vest with it too. So you know what's nice is that this is kind of a skinny tie.
Yeah.
And so the knot is like really small.
Uh-huh.
But when you're wearing a vest, you can really play with the length of the tie and
true.
Make it a little bit of a thicker knot.
So even though it's halfway to your stomach, we don't
That's
even
right.
know.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Perfect.
Just like Jim Tressel. So anyway, last year I think I only wore a suit once, and that was for a funeral.
Yeah.
So it's like times are changing.
Times are definitely changing, yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking at all my suits in the closet, and I'm like, when was the last time I wore these suits? Because my kind of format has been slacks and a jacket rather than a suit.
Sport coat, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. They got pushed to the back of the closet, huh?
They did. And now they probably don't fit. So anyway.
They're too big, right?
Yeah. So we believe by providing education and guidance, we can inspire our clients to make great financial decisions so they can retire with confidence, right? So we just met a new client who I think they'll be able to retire with confidence, but there's a problem in 2020, right? This is our case study conversation here, and we'll be getting to the meat of the podcast in a minute. But for the case study, and they were invested aggressively coming into 2020, and decided that they wanted to have some coaching, right? Some financial planning work done in March of 2020. And what happened?
Yeah, in March of 2020, we had that was the start of the shutdowns, the lockdowns, and the market went straight south for a while.
And what was the advice they received and acted on? Yeah,
surprisingly, the advice that they were talking to said, sell it all, go to cash. So they went from 100% equity to 100% cash. Really extreme move.
Yeah, really extreme.
Yeah.
And as a result, locked in 35% losses for 2020.
Yeah, and even at this point, you know, here I'll creep it up on a year later, still in cash, right? Through all the all the events that we've seen over the last year, they still never found that right opportunity to get back in.
And we talk about that a lot. If you move out of the market, you have to be right twice.
Right.
You know, so it makes so much more sense to make sure that you are taking the right amount of risk today when times are good. Because you don't know what's going to happen next, right? You could have a 35% sell-off, and then you make a poor choice because emotionally you can't handle the big drop.
Yep. Yeah, I just had that same conversation with another client. It's not about us knowing when to get in and when to get out. It's about getting it right the first time, getting that comfort level right the first time, so that we don't have to have a shoot ourselves in the foot moment like that, where the pain was too much to handle, so we got out at the worst time.
And for some people, you know, a 35% loss, maybe just a couple of years away from retirement, it could be a deal breaker, right? It really could.
Absolutely.
You know, I think these people are okay, but it's definitely a problem. So just be careful out there, right? Make sure you're taking the right amount of risk to start with.
Yep.
So anyway, today our topic, after like 5 minutes of lead in here, is teamwork, basically.
Yeah.
Right? Jim and I, we're a team, and so we put two heads together, and we think 1 + 1 = 3 as a result. I know that 1 + 1 = 2, but when it's these ones, it really is 3, right?
A lot of value add, right?
Yeah. So a recent client that we brought on gave us the idea for this for that topic because they were interviewing. They interviewed us, and interviewed a couple other people. And one of the things that really jumped out, besides Jim's charm, was that
It's a given.
was that we're a team, and the other people they interviewed were just solo practitioners, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that really stood out to me too when they made the comment and when we just asked for feedback, and they said, the fact that there were two heads in there able to work on this with us, we thought was really valuable.
Yeah, and we finish each other's sentences often, right?
Very often.
What else? So I think, I've seen in my 20 whatever years, I've seen both ways, right? I've been on the team, I've been as a solo practitioner, and I think it really does help, right? And we take it for granted probably, but it really does help to have someone who has the same values and thinks similarly to help finish that sentence when you're looking for the right word, or you're looking for, you're looking at strategies, you're looking at motivating factors. And one of the things that jumps right out at me is, oftentimes, I'll be in the weeds of the financial plan, and it's so obvious that there could be a Roth conversion or a backdoor Roth, and I'm just not seeing it, right?
Yeah.
And that's when you jump in and you say, well, here's what we should do. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Right, why didn't I think of it? Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing actually. Is there's so many times we've been in meetings where one of us is going down one road and the other one says, what about this? What if we decided, take this slight right and take this approach instead? And you say, kind of light bulb, right? Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. That is a good idea. We should do it that way.
Right, so that's kind of in the moment. And then there's also when you're preparing for an existing client meeting, looking at the portfolio, looking at the level of risk, looking at the strategists that we're partnering with, looking at the cash flow and projections. We say, you know what, this strategy looks good. Let's look at another way, and it just puts an extra layer of due diligence, a second opinion, and we're able to present, let's say, more confidently, right? Because we know that all the bases are covered.
Right. We can check a lot of those boxes that we've reviewed a lot of different scenarios and thought about it from a couple different angles.
Exactly. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like we could go into so many examples here, but that would bore our audience.
Well, the other thing that I think that's really helpful with it as well is just having a second set of ears in a meeting. I think there's been a lot of times where, maybe I'm communicating with a client and I'm hearing them say one thing, but you're hearing them say it a different way, and maybe the question isn't for them as much about which investments are we using, but it's more about what kind of risk are we taking, right? Or something like those slight shifts that I think is really, we've been able to really benefit by having a couple ears in the room, or have both of us talking and working with the client and reviewing at the same time.
Yeah, and another thing, right? Trying to motivate, right? We're a coach, right? Part of our job is to motivate people, to show them what are the consequences of these decisions. Or we're talking about sacrifice. Well, if you really want this as a goal, you have to do these three things to get there, right? Maybe the language that I speak to motivate them they're just not resonating with them, right? And so you're sitting in the meeting and reading body language and saying, if I say this just a different way, I think that maybe it would resonate better with them. And then it clicks. And now they're really motivated to take action.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that completely. I think that our communication styles at times can be different, and depending on who we're talking to, one may resonate more than the other. Can be good cop, bad cop.
Sometimes we do prepare to be good cop and bad cop too, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, hey, this is we should come up with a name, like a team name.
A team name?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Come up with a cheer.
We can make it a contest. Our clients can submit their name recommendations.
Good idea. Okay, so do you want to take us out?
If you have questions, you have a portfolio that you would like to get 2 sets of opinions on, or run past 2 sets of ears, Nick and I are here for you. You can always visit us at peakwm.com to learn more about us. You can even schedule online at pinkwm.com, where we can get an opportunity to meet you and give you that second opinion.
1 + 1 = 3.
You've been listening to certified financial planner Nick Hopwood and accredited investment fiduciary Jim Pilat on the Finding True Wealth podcast, sponsored by Peak Wealth Management. You can learn more about Peak Wealth Management by visiting peakwm.com or follow on Twitter at nhopwood1.